Hello, black people. There's a Michael Cohen and there's a Meidas Touch network that has collusion slash S with lawyers, um, self-valued roles showing fake information to presidents, fake transcripts, using their roles to measure and maintain self-valued roles with the breaching method. That self-valued roles bring other things other than ourselves for things our founders communicated and nature itself communicates for us to blame on the human fact keeping nature breaching method. That was a whole bunch of methods because it was a whole bunch of laws that were collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and insidiousness to the people A through Z and the communications locations individually grouped in mass communications, originally and still, leaving and having left out criminal foreign influences, criminally foreign influence uses of databases, identities of relativity to ourselves, also with the hyper relativity of the breaching method, sickly distinctly, having been entrenched against each human body since some ancient times. Anyone who brings it up properly, their words are changed and faked. Things are pretended politics that are not. We're supposed to value the Constitution unabridged, and that and why and how we have rights that are too numerous to have to list them. We're supposed to demonstrate how people are pretending politics aren't they what they are not. They have roles that do as predicate acts, also differentially worse criminally involved, like with Michael Cohen and this Meidas network. Also with the FBI, former director, I'm not even a lawyer, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, a former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence to Corrupt Organization Act. He has roles with differences rackets that where people pretend they don't realize, pretend that they use their own differences and other people's differences as collusions with sequence shifts and wire and mail crime acts and whole methods of them, whole predicate acts methods, falsified police reports roles, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw collusion slash S increasingly with not just criminal foreign influence, but hyper criminal foreign influences, with replacing torture, pretending it's debatable, switching and forging names into branch. They have prisons and people on the Connecticut State Corrections Offices involved interstates with the legal identities, involved further with the court next to the Ninth Circuit Court in Manhattan, New York, right before the attack, short term before the attack, and long term before the attack. People intra cities and intercities and intra campuses and inter campuses, they are also increasingly involved with planting evidences on all sides of my house and all sides of their house. It says, with names increasingly involved with wet wire crimes with Weathersfield police, increasingly with courts roles with them, refusing to identify themselves. Roles of mail and wire crime, falsified police reports, intercities, the Weathersfield police involved. Also, criminally foreign influence, pretending it's personal when I and others mention such. Because these are multiple police departments also personally with the same house. A whole bunch of people intercities involved with the names Cololo and DeMoro, increasingly with wire crime acts and methods. And people involved with at Trinity College with and Central and Hartford, Connecticut, and Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, who have wire crimes intercities with Weathersfield Police and people next to the state capitol and people next to the state judicial branch offices and people with next to the state corrections offices as ones involved with the wire crimes and forging and switching names. And each year, collusion slash S with more and more people from other areas planting evidence on my streets. They're looking for cover-ups now. They already invested people with lies against themselves. They faked and changed words with my past neighbors, forced to collusions with people tied to them involved with untimely deaths at Trinity College and with a house in the area involved now with that. And when they told me, and 1 years before that, also involved with that. And a more recent home break-in is involved also increasingly with people with the name Kevin Dillon and a guy who said he was his 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 he said his family lived near the corner of Fairlane Drive and Carriage Hill Drive. And he has roles with two speech class teachers I have with students and adults from Washington, D.C. Also involved with the World Trade Center long term and short term. Has something to do with the roles all along Route 175 from the founding locations in America. As people involved, a Daryl Chandler, I don't know him at all. He was influenced to seek me out, to demonstrate, record, confirm, and confess his roles with a whole bunch of other people from Wethersfield involved with Koreans. Again, their own against their own. And people as the people involved with Russians at the same time. Their own against their own, too. And their roles intercampuses and with their educators, putting them to fake ties, fake natures of ties to people, other people, and then speaking fake things tied to people sticking from off campuses, collusions forced, putting fake things in databases, hiding the use/estimate roles, including where it is black KKK, Confederate flag themed. There are conscious use in Latino, Italian, all that. These are the people with the borders countries and the counters to it because they all run in and hide lipoaggressions at medical locations, like in New Britain, with the people involved with Hartford Hospital and the houses and businesses next to it through time. There are also families intercities with names next to campuses attached to fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people. And in some ways, it's their own self-value roles with that through little tricks. Increasingly, people from other areas involved with fire departments, with foreign and domestic, have been planting evidences on all sides of my house, with the police involved with wire crimes and switching names, forging names, preventing me writing since I was a kid. They also pretended with the news. I had conversations with them with the kid. As a kid, I never went to the police station as a kid and spoke with them. I never had them come here to speak with me. Never spoke with them. The kids, they wanted me to go there, and I didn't go there for my own reasons. Not because in other words, because thank God, I had a parent bright enough. In other words, but the kids who did go to speak with them are ones increasingly involved with families at the campuses that have been planting evidences with them, federal evidences, crimes. And they're with the intelligence community. This is how they leak it too when they deny it. Because they're offensively refusing to identify with the interbranch. Increasingly, a Whiting Forensics has roles with more names with the campuses and with the news, Connecticut news locations, and the public television has roles with a whole bunch of different countries with their family members involved at corners of streets I went to with their time use of that, with their timed identity theft, fraud, slanders roles, jumping into our conversations and forbidding us from speaking honestly about the past, what is active now, and what is to come that we can discern, like the season's value. In other words, they can't afford to have values course discern at A through Z. See them about them speaking with the word communities left out from the ground locations, black pupils. These are some of the things that are hiding to keep the other things, others ourselves, blamed, right where our founders and nature itself is showing us to blame. There are a whole bunch of predicate acts with facts, methods juxtaposed at once upon the people of New York City, sickly distinctly too, but also sickly non-distinctly, and where and how that's valued to everyone at the same time. Instead, everyone has self-valued roles with that being and having been used by the breaching method, all as tools, measuring, maintaining other things, others ourselves, self-valued, blamed for what? Non-distinctly hurts us all. Pretending things are debatable that they are not, black pupils. It is time. So this Michael Cohen has roles with some black KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, Latino themed, police forums and courts speaking fake things and their delusions into records at the same time with child defenders, leaders of kids, elderly and veterans homes per their time collusion/S with use/S of locations on the ground. And then he used the word core too. In other words, this thing is pantheism. We will be led by what is greater than and more finite than all things, vaccines. Because to history, the readings of history and of the sciences and of the religions books, they're out of sequence and there are self-varied rules with that and with relative use slash S of fact, human nature, quality aspects, nature, like and styles pretending things that are debatable that are not, while tactically delusions wrought with the sciences, multi-front, because overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and terrorists. See people using the word extremism and radical and wanting and needing to pretend things that are debatable that are not tied to it, leaving out exceptions, all exceptions in nature too. So these are the same people on there speaking about crimes and their roles of predicate acts with facts methods and with their sources interbranch intelligence foreign and domestic are shared on off campuses in ways they're directed to hide here and there because there's remote uses of their differences here and there. That's recorded too. There's a hyperforeign recorded. Also replacing how there's a hyper simultaneous recorded because not us nor the other species bodies, neither of us invented how we have two eyes. Quality aspects of nature are the same, even though we are distinct. And we are simultaneous, but per that further hyper simultaneous, which is neither us nor them, but it is both of us anyway. Many pray vaccines. So we have people that they're lying about their motivations to themselves and other. In other words, and they're blocking how things work. You guys are supposed to lift. When I say there are World Trade Center predicate acts, all right, if you don't believe me, you make sure that stays the subject. You don't change and fake what I say. See, they change and fake what people say, black pupils. We're going to deal with the predicate acts with facts method that little kids in New York City, clearer than day, could discern. And they're going to learn how to speak about it this way. And we're going to keep it blamed on the breaching method, and we're going to sense who doesn't. You guys needed to keep it blamed on other things other than yourselves because you guys pretended you could speak on serious things while you're pretending passions and emotions and motivations, leaving out the motivations of the breaching method. It's nature itself shows us there's a breaching method involved with other things, others are ourselves blamed, right? Where our founders communicated for us to blame a human fact, human nature breaching method. That was measuring and maintaining everyone's collusions with itself syntactically. Otherwise, that body was sensed and everyone around them. This is the method. This is why and how it still manifests at locations or the people next to it or the people involved with killings, the people arresting and jailing them. The difference of them with other natures of organized crime before that, in those contexts and sins. This is a use of a location /S, collusion /S. Clearer than day. All good things about humanity, all good nature, actual nature. You guys have it replaced right here where we have black pupils, whites of eyes. You are styles jumping into people's conversation. You change and fake what we say. If we note there are juxtaposed methods and natures of organized crime roles and of predicate acts with facts methods roles that are influencing and have influenced people to force left out. How we have black people's whites of eyes and a breaching method assigned others to be communicated as and but to from and as with and for that. Also, tactical terror from how nature communicates with it. We are forbidden free speech. Now roles with that have to pretend otherwise styles the way the breaching method knew they would. Black pupils, let not go of the hyperscope. We have nature's identity itself showing us its body, showing us the projection of it, showing us that it is why and is how. We have black pupils, whites of eyes, the same color eyes, two different color eyes at the same time, black pupils. Mass behavior racketeering natures pretended they could speak for serious things and for integrity. Two tactically delusions wrought, other with criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quiet aspects of nature, being used remotely while they are shown needs to offensively pretend they think politics mean what they do not. Black pupils focus on the predicate acts themselves, the principles, like these. They're the same in color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. This principle. This is relative, where we can discern this predicate acts with facts method. We can discern not one could walk out of a house in New York City and drop a seed and make one plant grow. They are stacked upon each other while the suburbs were designed tactically to nature. Nature itself is showing us even the soil is no longer producing worms that no longer therefore walk out in the rain into puddles and into fresh bodies of fresh water, which are all gone, put underground, and or with no all denatured anyway, with no fish to feed anyway, because the bugs are no longer on the surface of the ponds in the rain. But nature shows us function where it makes the worms walk into the body. So water then. It's communicating with all natures of itself. Even if someone makes something up, its identity of possession / hyperpossession is inseparable from the finite parts of itself, the group parts and the simultaneous part of itself, simultaneously / hypersimultaneously, distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously / hypersimultaneously. This is what we are discerning, where we can discern the identity of relativity / hyperrelativity between the difference of the value of the smallest finite detail that we could only grapple with one way, or the value of the order of the finite itself. The difference of that too. It is constantly with demonstration / sense of all things, of it being hyper additional things. This identity that we can discern, again, not us nor the other species bodies, but anyway, any prey vaccines. It is equal relativity as bodies are to positive and negative simultaneously. But then further, temporarily with an exception, where Earth has a temporary / lasting a special difference. We could ignore that special difference and be and stay systems tactically ulterior from its own. But it will only continually demonstrate with increasing negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So also neighbors and the location / S of Robert Heingartner and a Chet Casper are involved with intelligence families. Also with their educators, involved with a former Mayor Gold, involved also with an educator from who used to live near me, who's involved with the intelligence community in the brand, in the military. People with the name Burstein, his kids, are involved with some untimely deaths. And their roles, like right when my grandmother moved here, and my grandfather, they're attaching kids to fake communications with their family members, changed communications, but roles also. Everyone speaking through others to leave out and measure left out other countries' names and the breaching method's name, because nature itself shows us why and how. We're supposed to be simultaneously locked together our names as the species body's value, and simultaneously we're supposed to be totally independent, and we're supposed to be paying attention to the part. Well, this is a part of equality of diffusion, and how now as systems tactical ulterior from its own quality of diffusion, that which leads reason proper. So the news has been involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and digital crime methods that are used also as multi-front roles with past, active, and only capable of being looking forward perspectives to self-valued, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, wrought use / uses of all natures of investigations and of investigators as styles that can't defend that and their use of difference / differences with fact human nature and afford to be, let alone to protract syntax with convictions proper, with theory, let alone with convictions, let alone with convictions regarding guilt. See, but either way, nature would have healed that. But we offensively have our free speech forbid. Offensively, they have all communications platforms and methods, and they're persuading without them knowing from off the locations of YouTube. YouTube has Aram Adams with the FBI involved with and courts and Wethersfield Police in the Brent Superior Court, Harper Courts, Connecticut District Court have also with Joshua Julian on Facebook and on YouTube involved with predicate acts. Also with the Joshua Schumack with Wethersfield Police Facebook page. The Facebook page in the Britain Superior Court. They have sequence shifts and predicate acts with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, their family members and neighbors of that, as the ones involved with the interbranch and foreign families, at the same time with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and the cultural narratives and natures, and names at and next to news, at and next to the state capitol. Increasingly planting lie progressions. In other words, through time, Chuck Casper keeps acting and making it look like he knows me or I ever saw him on a campus. One exception has something to do with a girl on Ridge Road, involved with a whole bunch of people all along Route 175 from the founding locations in Old Wethersfield, who have been putting fake ties and fake natures of ties between kids and fake motivations for it, specifically so they could lie about what they think about the behavior of others, especially on a mass scale. Their interbranch have roles with the word domestic, where on a mass scale they have recorded self-conscious roles with offensive evidence reception, racketeering worse than war crimes, black pupils. This is also recorded relative to these predicate acts, wire crime, mail crime methods, and relative delusions, and relative to the worth of their jobs, black pupils, and relative to their worth of their use of exceptions. Oh, well, it makes someone feel good to have a job. You need people offensively pretending to believe things, not pretending, also not realizing they're leaving out exception nature. They are using and have used exceptions and exception nature syntactically valued. Tactical ulterior from what could defend that and afford to be, let alone to protract. Words valuing the Constitution unabridged, and why and how we have rights that are too numerous to have to list them. Offensively, the people who have been speaking about crimes at countries A through Z, they are recorded being and have been self-valued roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. The insidiousness, styles of insidiousness nature of people A through Z, and the news, the names next to them at the same time, and people next to crime scenes, killers, and their jailers, collusions at the same exact time, self-valued styles of the same sequence shifts, and the same delusions that wouldn't have been, had not, and wouldn't be. If you guys would follow mandated law, get the interbranch switching names and forging names onto paper. We know they had predicate acts with facts and sick natures, too. Roles with the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and foreign and domestic intelligence, entrenched with torture, extortion, and slavery, northern colonies and southern colonies, and northern states and southern states, tactical ulterior from our founders. Would they, nature and the Constitution unabridged, demands and demanded, all have replaced those demands because the breaching method discerned and deciphered what our founders said, not deciphered, but also with cipher in the form of they couldn't explain it. Because you guys are quality of fact sheet nature, aspects of fact sheet nature, styles that are used to sense for the breaching method, no matter what country they're from. You got suits and ties, counters, and exceptions as an array, being and having been used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically, delusions, raw. Otherwise, that body was incensed. Even if that body is a majority of people, even if it is the body of everyone in the country at the same time, and that is adapted to, even if it is a grouping of countries. Because this breaching method, once you're a grouping of countries, if you're still as locations, areas, and states as is, that's all used remotely as fact keeping nature. Where and how it counts. All pays. Vaccines. Please follow mandated law. Judge them. Somebody asked Judge Napolitano because maybe the message will get through. Because they've been changing and faking what's recorded digitally to the judges. These are also people that it's involved with the arrangements of the story since, with the news companies refusing to follow mandated law as collusion/s. Also with all kinds of conscious uses of people pretending their jobs and their titles are valued that they are not, which is also evidence relevant here. Black pupils. We're going to pay attention to the predicate acts with facts method. We don't have to be lawyers. Vaccines, actually just things.